What if the most dangerous alliance in the world today isn't Russia and China or North Korea and Iran, but a quiet, patient 25-year partnership between Beijing and Tehran that Western policymakers have been systematically underestimating for 2 decades? Because while America has been focused on sanctioning Iran, containing Chinese technology, and managing Russian aggression, China and Iran have been building something the world has never seen before: a $400 billion strategic partnership specifically designed to make both countries immune to Western pressure, dismantle the dollar-based financial system, and rewrite the rules of the entire Middle East. And the most shocking part? It's been hiding in plain sight the whole time. Let's break down exactly what's happening and why it changes everything. The deal that stunned the world. In March 2021, China and Iran signed a document called the Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. 25 years, $400 billion in Chinese investment in Iranian infrastructure, energy, banking, telecommunications, and military development. In exchange, China gets discounted Iranian oil, guaranteed supply for decades, and a strategic foothold in the heart of the Middle East. Western media covered it briefly. Most commentators dismissed it as Iranian desperation dressed up as diplomacy. Iran was crippled by sanctions. Their currency had collapsed. Their economy was contracting. Of course, they'd take any deal they could get. That analysis completely missed the point. Because this deal wasn't about Iranian desperation, it was about Chinese strategy. And Chinese strategy doesn't operate on news cycles, it operates on decades. To understand what China actually signed in 2021, you have to go back much further. You have to go back to the same playbook that kept China at the center of the world for 2,000 years. The same playbook we've seen China use in Venezuela, in Africa, in Southeast Asia. The tributary system, updated, weaponized, deployed in the most strategically critical region on Earth. What China actually bought for $400 billion. Let's be specific because the details of this deal reveal China's entire global strategy in miniature. The energy component alone is staggering. Iran sits on the world's second-largest natural gas reserves and fourth-largest oil reserves. Under the partnership, China receives Iranian oil at discounts of 30 to 32% below market price. That's not a trade deal. That's a strategic subsidy. China is essentially pre-purchasing decades of Iranian energy production at rates that guarantee Chinese industrial competitiveness regardless of global oil price fluctuations. But energy is just the beginning. Chinese companies are building railways connecting Tehran to the Chinese Belt and Road Network. They're constructing ports on the Persian Gulf and Gulf of Oman. They're building telecommunications infrastructure, including 5G networks using Huawei equipment. They're developing Iranian banking systems that operate entirely outside Western financial networks. They're constructing a free trade zone on Kish Island that will become a hub for China-Iran commerce invisible to American financial monitoring. And the military dimension is the one that should be keeping Western strategists awake at night. China is providing Iran with weapons technology, satellite systems, and military training. The deal reportedly includes Chinese assistance with Iranian naval development, anti-ship missile technology, and air defense systems. Think about what that means. China is helping Iran build the military capacity to threaten the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow waterway through which 20% of the world's oil supply passes every day, the strait that American carrier battle groups have policed for 40 years, the strait whose security is foundational to the entire petrodollar system. China isn't just buying oil from Iran, they're potentially buying the ability to hold global oil markets hostage. The sanction-proof economy blueprint. Here's where the $400 billion deal becomes truly revolutionary in ways that go far beyond Iran and China themselves. China isn't just helping Iran, they're building the architecture for a world where American sanctions don't work anymore, and they're using Iran as the construction site. When that architecture is complete, the most powerful tool in American foreign policy becomes a blunt instrument hitting empty space. What the West still doesn't understand. Here's the fundamental misunderstanding that keeps Western policymakers getting China-Iran wrong. They keep analyzing it as an alliance of convenience between two sanctioned states, two countries that have been isolated by the West, finding each other out of desperation. This analysis is completely backwards. Iran isn't joining China's system because they have no other options. China chose Iran specifically because of Iran's strategic position, the geography, the energy reserves, the military capability, the historical animosity with America that makes Iran a reliable partner for Chinese anti-hegemony strategy. And China isn't helping Iran out of solidarity with oppressed nations. China is making a calculated investment in a strategic asset that happens to also need economic support. This matters because it determines what can change the equation. Western policymakers keep hoping that if sanctions are tight enough, Iran will eventually capitulate and abandon the Chinese partnership. This misunderstands the relationship. It's not Iranian desperation that created the partnership, it's Chinese strategic calculation. Even if sanctions were somehow tightened further, even if Iran's economy deteriorated more, China would still support Iran, not out of loyalty, but because Iran serves Chinese strategic purposes that have nothing to do with Iranian economic conditions. The $400 billion isn't charity, it's investment in a strategic position. And China doesn't abandon strategic positions because their asset is having a hard time. The 25-year vision. The deal runs for 25 years. That timeline is not accidental. 25 years from 2021 is 2046. 4 years before the 2050 date that Xi Jinping has set as the target for China to become a fully developed, rich, and powerful nation and the leading global power. Within that 25-year window, China is planning to complete the Belt and Road Network connecting Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. They're planning to establish the digital yuan as a significant alternative to dollar-based trade. They're planning to modernize their military to achieve parity with American capabilities. They're planning to resolve the Taiwan question on their terms. The Iran deal fits perfectly into this timeline. By the time Chinese infrastructure in Iran is complete, by the time Iranian financial systems are fully integrated with Chinese alternatives, by the time Iranian military capabilities are fully modernized with Chinese technology, the strategic landscape of the Middle East will be fundamentally different. American carriers will still be in the Persian Gulf, but Iranian missiles, upgraded with Chinese technology, will make those carriers more vulnerable than they've been since World War II. American sanctions will still target Iran, but Iranian trade, routed through Chinese financial systems and transported along Chinese-built infrastructure, will continue largely unaffected. American diplomatic efforts to isolate Iran will continue, but China's Security Council veto will continue to protect Iran from international consequences. The 25-year deal isn't just an agreement, it's a scheduled transformation of the Middle Eastern order, and America is watching it happen without an effective counter-strategy. The $400 billion question. So why does this matter to you? Because the China-Iran alliance isn't just reshaping the Middle East, it's reshaping the global financial system, the effectiveness of American foreign policy, and the balance of power in the most energy-critical region on Earth. If China succeeds in building a sanction-proof Iran, they've demonstrated that their alternative financial system works at scale. Every other country targeted by American sanctions will accelerate integration into Chinese financial networks. If Iran's Chinese upgraded military can credibly threaten the Strait of Hormuz, the cost of American military operations in the region escalates dramatically, while the effectiveness declines. If Chinese-brokered Middle Eastern diplomacy continues to produce results that American diplomacy cannot, Chinese soft power in the region will displace American influence without a single military confrontation. The tributary system that China maintained for 2,000 years wasn't built on military conquest. It was built on being so economically central, so culturally influential, and so strategically positioned that other countries found it in their interest to acknowledge Chinese primacy. That's exactly what China is building in the Middle East through the Iran partnership. Not an empire, not a military alliance. a network of economic dependencies, infrastructure connections, financial integrations, and strategic relationships that make China indispensable to regional stability. And Iran is the anchor. The $400 billion investment in the most anti-American, most strategically positioned, most energy-rich nation in the Middle East. The bottom line: Iran is China's secret weapon against the West, not because China is using Iran militarily, not because China and Iran are ideological soulmates, not because Beijing loves the Iranian regime. Iran is China's secret weapon because Iran's strategic position, energy reserves, military capabilities, and motivated hostility to American hegemony make it the perfect instrument for challenging the foundations of American power in the most critical region on Earth. The $400 billion deal is China's down payment on a future where American carriers can't police the Strait of Hormuz unchallenged, where American sanctions don't cut Iran off from global trade, where American diplomacy doesn't shape Middle Eastern politics, and where the petrodollar system that underpins American global financial power is threatened at its source. It's the tributary system rebuilt for the 21st century, China at the center. Iran as the crucial node connecting Chinese power projection to Middle Eastern energy and American strategic interests. It's the gunpowder lesson applied. Invest in capabilities that challenge the foundations of enemy power rather than competing directly where the enemy is strongest. And it's patient. 25 years, one infrastructure project at a time, one financial integration at a time, one military upgrade at a time. By the time the full implications are visible, the architecture will already be complete. The $400 billion alliance isn't just about Iran and China. It's about who writes the rules of the 21st century. And right now, China is doing the writing. Click on the video on your screen now to keep watching. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and see you in the next one.